All right, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. It's Monday Night Football. I am Wiso Vasquez from FoodMexSource.com, host of tonight's Mexican Soccer Show. Glad to have everybody on. It looks like we're ready to go. We were running a little behind with some technical difficulties, but I think we're ready to go. So, if the production, we actually have a production team. If they can please let's get some camera going and let's start this show. If you can click over to us. And there we go. All right, guys. Like I said, we so ask for the Mexican Soccer Show. We're going to have a great show today and talking all about all of the things that are happening in Mexican football. Lots and lots to talk about, especially with the Copa America news, with what's been said already. Officially 40-man roster today was announced, so it's going to be a lot of fun, especially with all the guys that are here to discussing the Mexican Soccer Show. If everybody on our show, I'll introduce them, but if you can please mute, if we can have the production team definitely mute your mic. I think we'll still hear something, but if not, we're ready to go. All right, let's see who's on the show today. Let's go we'll start with Mr. Jason Markowitz from the East Coast somewhere. Still don't know where he's at, but Jason Markowitz back, who has taken a little hiatus, taking a little time off. Jason, how are you doing today?
I'm doing, man. I'm excited. As you said, this Copa America list is out there. Summer's coming. There's a lot of big things, and we're getting to the big Liga coming up here in a week or so. So exciting times. A lot to talk about for sure.
Well, good. Over to Mr. Naive Moran in Mexico City. I've been going to some games, following on Twitter. Naive, you ready for this summer? I think we're finally seeing that it has started, even though we're not in the summer months yet. But the summer tournament, we're already feeling it. How are you, sir?
Yeah. First of all, buenas noches, Wiso, Tom, and Jason, also Amy, nuestra productora. It's May. I mean, May and June, I think, are the most exciting month of the year when it comes to football. You got the Champions League and the Europa League stuff going on in Europe. And in Mexico, we got Liga. And so, no tournament like Copa Centenario where CONMEBOL and CONCACAF come together.
Yeah, awesome, good to see. And then also, not least, as you can see, Mr. Tom Marshall is with us today. He is what it looks like in the Hall of Faces of the Game of Thrones. His avatar today. It looks like has a floating head. I think very dark there. Leader of the Night's Watch, Mr. Tom Marshall in Guadalajara. As you can see, how's it going, Tom? Chivas celebrating. I mean, did they go to the Minerva? Was there a big party at your house? I mean, what's going on, Tom? How's it going?
Yeah, all good, yeah. Decided to come outside today. It's a nice night over here, so I thought go outside for a bit, but obviously look like a floating head, so, pluses and minuses there, isn't it? But, yeah, no, all good in Guadalajara. Yeah, obviously Chivas doing well. Good, completely different atmosphere now at the club, and, so all of a sudden, in like 2 months, gone from like literally relegation talk to the big one. Can Chivas win the title now they're in the Liga? So yeah, fun times.
We'll definitely talk about all of the what a year for Chivas. What especially the last 3 months, 4 months, and what we were looking about relegation and all the things that happened, and now contenders, and now even I had a little tweet that said it'd be hilarious. It'd be almost epic if Chivas won the national. I watched the championships. It'd be awesome. So we'll go ahead and get started on the chat. Of course, saying hello to everyone that's on. Mr. Ivan Fernandez, Mr. Afrozander, who's live tweeting for us today. Ceci Gomez, Joel Billman, Victor Herrera, Carlitos, Jessica Lopez, that's on, who was our guest last week. So thank you, Jess, for joining the show. So lots of people on the chat already talking about everything. Christian Camargo is already talking about Jonathan Dos Santos playing in the Champions League next year. Jose Cáceres saying pick me. So we're having a lot of fun. I'll actually have a little more time to look at the chat, especially on this show. So if you have any questions and you're watching us right now live on YouTube on the page, definitely ask us on the chat because I'll be paying a little more attention since now I don't have to do all the technical stuff. I'd like to mention thank you to our intern, Amy. Steka Amy. She is running all the controls today, so she will be helping us out running camera work. So big thank you, Amy, on the behind the scenes. It should go a little more smoothly. So all of you guys that are on the chat, definitely send us your questions, and I'll be asking the guys right here. But let's go ahead and get started. And well first, right away with the big news today. Copa America 40-man roster, preliminary, of course, with everything that's what's going on, and we'll get that up right now. If we can put it up, all of the federations, nice. They like to, instead of giving us the names on Twitter, they just like to post it. Here you go. You know every single one of these 40 guys. If you don't worry about it, because the list is on our website. So it's a great way for the FMF to get clicks. I didn't know they were wanting clicks so badly, but they're able to do that. But the Copa America list. Now, over the weekend we did see a list that would come out, but it wasn't a full list, especially a confirmed list. I know that Tom had an article that was, you kind of linked it up. I think it was Record who came out with a list. Footmex Source definitely ran across the list. But if you can see the list is up right now on the screen, and that's the list of all the 40 players that are on. So I'd love definitely everyone to talk about what your first thoughts that are there. We'll go through the list in a minute, but first reactions, guys, on the list that you're able to see. Now, Naib, you're there in Mexico City. Was there a press conference, and I'm not sure about the list, or they just kind of get it out? Naib might have, Naib, if you're still there, but I think it was just kind of tweeted out, but we're there. So we'll go to Tom. Tom, initial reactions with the list and the 40. What we saw before. It looked like Jonathan Dos Santos wasn't going to make it on the list that came out on Friday from some of the media, but now that we're seeing Jonathan Dos Santos, now the Dos Santos brothers are still there. So Tom, overall, what are you thinking? What are you seeing with this list that's come out? Juan Carlos Osorio.
No, I think it's standard. I mean, I was going through the names, and it's like there's nothing particularly shocking. Like, obviously, people are going to be saying, there's certain names that aren't there. A couple of Chivas players. I think Jair Pereira can be a bit disappointed after the season he's had. And Isaac Brizuela. I mean, I think that he's had a great season. Eric Gutierrez was one of the younger players who's not there. But he's injured at the minute, and obviously he's going to go to the Olympics, so that's understandable. Elias Hernandez from Leon, who's played very well of late. I think he's completely deserved his call. A couple of weird names, Candido Ramirez. I don't think most people can understand how a player like he can get on, and Isaac Brizuela. Oh yeah, Brizuela's on there. So he's hardly played at Montemo's time. He doesn't get the starts, and then he's in the national team. So yeah, I mean Cisneros as well at Chivas. You look at Candido Ramirez and Cisneros. The golazo that Cisneros scored at the weekend against Dorados, and you think, how's it possible? But Osorio likes Ramirez, and I think the list, I was going through it name by name, and it's pretty much called up every single one of these players in his 3 kind of squad announcements. So no big surprise. I mean, all the Euros are there. I think maybe Alan Pulido. Some people are pointing out that has he done enough? But I don't think he has. I just don't. I think he'd have to do a lot more to get in this national team than what he's done over in Greece this season. So yeah, I think standard list. I think the thing you're looking for with a list like this, where it's 40 players. I mean, at the end of the day, 17 of these aren't going to go to the Copa America. Mm-hmm. So I think you're looking at. I was looking especially at Rafa Marquez. Was Rafa Marquez going to be in there? Because we know he's had a poor season at Atlas, so it was always like, if he's in the 40 list, you assume he's going to be in the 23 one. You assume that Osorio wouldn't do that to a player like Rafa Marquez. So it's who's left out more than anything. Giovanni Dos Santos back in. So I don't know. I think I'd say standard list, and obviously people are going to have a few complaints, but I don't think there's any major name that's not there.
Yeah, this is a 40-man list, so not very often do you get 40 people. If it's World Cup, I think there's usually, you have to give a 40 list just in case, and the way that people works, there's going to be 23, it's going to cut down to 23, but the 40-man list gives you a preliminary list so they can start the process and start seeing all the players. It also has to do with registering them for the Copa America. Then when it goes down to 23, out of these guys, and it used to be only 30, if you remember correctly, in normal tournaments when you give a 30-man list, but now it's a 40-man list. So if anyone does get injured of the top 23, well, they could only ask for the other 17. So it gives you an extension of 10 more players actually than normal. So that's what's good about having 40, and they're all registers. All of these guys can and will have an opportunity to make it to the Copa America, but obviously JCO is going to break it down and let go of 17. Naive, you and I were talking before. Tom mentioned it. Before we go into the name-by-name basis, anyone that was left out, keep in mind a question from the chat, just kind of saying that, do you think maybe a Gallito or that was left out? Maybe they're thinking about some players that are going to be in the Olympics. For example, maybe a Pulido, but we're looking at. But ultimately, you automatically said Pulido not on it. Over the last week, Pulido, making drama again, and I don't want to connect the two, but hilarious. He's saying, congratulations to America for the Conca champions. And a lot of people took it, obviously the relationships that Pulido has with Tigres, but Pulido not on there, surprising? And I would definitely love your thoughts on that.
I mean, I think it's well known by all of us that his season in Greece has been a rather successful one, because I think he has playing time, he scored a couple of goals, but I think the murky situation that his career has followed in the last years has prevented him from being in the scenario. We don't know what the deal is with Tigres. We don't know what the deal is with FMF. And I think this is where it comes a little bit murky in this decision. Of course, Pulido, in my opinion, is better than Eduardo Herrera, for example, in the list. But there's this issue that has not been explained in its entirety that is preventing him from being in this squad. But, when you see the numbers, when you see the performances, he should be in this list. But there's this whole story that I think is preventing him from playing in the Centenario. Maybe if Pulido would have accepted that offer from Chivas back in the day, maybe he would be in this list.
Yeah, interesting to see.
I think that I don't know. I think that I don't know if he's done enough. I think that, for example, obviously I think Pulido's naturally a better player than Eduardo Herrera, but I think Herrera offers that more physical option, and if he is in the squad, then I think it's something else off the bench, something different than Mexico have, and that Pulido could give you. But I agree. I just think his career since the World Cup has been a disaster, and I know it's kind of stepped up over the last few months, but to get in this national team, you want to see him do more than that, you know what I mean? And Pulido, you're right, now, he definitely should be in this list. I mean, in terms of talent, in terms of where you look at the ages of the Mexican strikers, and Pulido should be that next one. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation with Pulido, but I don't know. I think on the mental side as well. I don't know how much. I'm not going to go with the conspiracy theory about the FMF and all that, because I'm not sure Sorio's like that, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, just giving him the benefit of doubt for now. But I think Pulido should have done enough in the last couple of years to absolutely have forced himself onto that list, rather than kind of be he's fighting with Eduardo Herrera.
Oh, definitely. I think what we're seeing that the Greek league didn't give him enough, and I think that we were all kind of looking for that. But Mr. Jason, overall thoughts without going into, we'll go into the porteros, defensas, medios, and forwards in a minute. But to you, Jason, overall on the list, there's really not much. Do you really like it? You don't, because it is 40 man, so you can't really he left some out. But overall, are you start seeing it? And he's got to cut this to 17. How hard of a task would that be?
That's definitely going to be a hard task. I mean, you're going to have to really thinking about what you want this roster to look like, thinking about how some of these players will be going to the Olympics and which ones you're going to use and not use. So, I mean, there's a lot of decisions to be made, what players you're going to use where. I mean, it's certainly going to be a tough decision how this gets cut down. The thing that really jumps out to me, and it was mentioned, was the Gaito not being on there, and if maybe he is being considered for Olympics place. But even so, I'd still expect him to be on this list. So that one's the one that really jumped out to me the most. Mm-hmm. And just following up on the Pulido talk, I kind of agree. It's hard to see that he really did a lot to earn a place where, a few years ago you would assume he would be on every list moving forward. It's unfortunate because he does have the talent, certainly, to be one of the most talented strikers that Mexico has. It just hasn't worked out. It's kind of been just a real big bummer with Polito. But overall, yeah, the list, to be expected. We'll see. Tough decisions for Osorio for sure.
Yeah, I think the other one is Giovanni Dos Santos. I mean, it's the first time since the Gold Cup that his name's been on, I think, any list, to do with the Mexican national team. I mean, that's a long time. That's a long time for Gio. So, it'll be absolutely fascinating to see whether Gio's on that final list because he's banging in the goals left, right, centre for in MLS. So, Osorio said the door's open to Gio. I'm watching him. And Gio can't really do any more than he has been doing in the last couple of weeks. But is it enough? What are Osorio's actual thoughts about Giovanni Dos Santos? And I think that on May 20th, when that squad comes out, we're going to find out whether it's just kind of empty rhetoric from Osorio or he actually likes the player.
Yeah, so what we've been seeing, a couple of things that I saw today on Osorio is that Giovanni Dos Santos, I think he will be in the ultimate list with that he saw. And also Chicharito Hernandez who will make it. So we know those. It'll be really, really. What else does Giovanni have to do? I mean, he's scoring goals, but we'll go into the list.
Real quick on midfield. Gallito is in the list. Gallito is in the 40-man list, no?
Yeah.
Is he? Did I get that wrong?
Yeah, just.
I thought that.
Sorry.
Yeah, Jason, no más. Yeah, no problem. That was just a little bit. Yeah, Gallito is. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Jose Juan Vasquez Gomez. Nobody knew that. That's Gallito Vasquez. That's the problem.
Gomez,
Because I thought for some reason he wasn't on there anyways. Well, there we go. That correction that we're there. Let's go ahead and go into it. The actual roster with let's start with the porteros that are on there. Alfredo Talavera, and these second and middle names that's at the FMF is freaking me out because I'm like, wait, who is that? You're right. Alfredo Talavera Dimes, José de Jesus Corona Rodriguez, Francisco Memo Ochoa, Picolín. If I would have told you Miguel Redorta, would you know that that's Picolín? Miguel Alejandro Palacio Redorta, and Jonathan Manuel Orozco Dominguez, just to make sure. Right off the list, guys, let's go with the defense. For me, obviously you normally take three, so one of them will be off. Will Picolín finally get some types of minutes? Will he be taking for? And that's the JCO. I don't see it. I think he should. I still think that I want to see Picolín to see what he does. But I'm figuring it's just going to be Memo, and it's going to be and Talavera, and then probably Jonathan Orozco. Where you guys are at, Tom? Your thoughts on the? And here we go already with a who's going to start. But we'll start right now. Who's going to stay in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's. I don't know. I mean, it depends on the Olympics, but I mean, I think it's obviously Talavera, Corona, and Ochoa. I mean, I think those are the best three. I think the best three by quite a distance at the minute. So yeah, I mean, but is one of them going to go to the Olympics? I mean, I'd say it's between Talavera and Ochoa now for the starting spot. So does that mean you'd send Corona to the Olympics? I think it's interesting. They've not taken a younger goalkeeper. I think that could have been an option for Osorio. Take a younger keeper into the Copa America, give him a bit of experience, but there's not many younger Mexican keepers around for one. So yeah, I mean the Morelia keeper, what's he called, Rodriguez, Carlos Rodriguez, is that right? That's one option. Unfortunately, Daniel Rodriguez isn't playing very much Chivas, but even Cota's been really good this season, and he's not on there either. So yeah, I mean that's the only thing with the goalkeepers. I don't know. I think the other thing with the squad in general is there are a lot of under 23 players. I mean, he's not doesn't seem like he's going to be restricted in terms of picking between the Olympics and the Copa America. I mean, obviously we don't know until this list is cut short, but you've got the base of the Olympic team there. With Carlos Salcedo, with Rodolfo Pizarro. Who else we got? Irving Lozano, Orbelín Pineda. Yeah, Deritos. I mean, we've got quite a few players there. Tecatito as well. You've got the base of the Olympic team in the Copa America, so that's going to be really interesting as well to see when it is cut down to 23, just how many of those players remain, because I mean, are they going to all play both tournaments? I mean, is that okay now? I mean, we don't know. Those questions are, still to be answered, really.
Oh wow, it's true. I mean, looking at the sub 23, and what we're looking at, cutting it down. I think that's where the 17, going back to the 17 people, and cutting it down, how that's going to play into it. So interested to see that. Really quick, we won't go through all of it, but as far as defense, Naive, when you're looking at it, the same four that we've seen before, the Paula Aguilar, Reyes, Moreno, and then Layun. When you're looking at this list, aside from I really want to see, Deditos, even though that he hasn't had that great of the last few games with Chivas, but ultimately, can anyone take that? You see this list? Can anyone take that starting spot, Naive, from those four that we've seen in the last year? That you're seeing on there. Even a Palmera Rias was a big surprise, I think, also from there. Not a player that is very technical, but I think JCO definitely likes from what we've seen before that. But what are you looking at, especially on that you're seeing that you're liking on the defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you see the names, I mean, for example, Rafa Marquez has been used as a central defensive midfielder, so he hasn't been used as a center back. Then you see Nestor Araujo, who has had recent call-ups, I think, in the last couple of months. But it will be interesting, for example, the Carlos Salcedo and the Yasser Corona one, because Yasser Corona hasn't been playing with Querétaro as of late. And yeah, he's left-footed and everything, but if he's not playing, it's a risk taking Yasser Corona. So I think Salcedo, if he does a good playoff run with Chivas, could in fact make this list. Because I think Salcedo could potentially play both tournaments, the Olympics and the Centenario. So those are my doubts. And also Israel Jimenez versus Raul Lopez. I mean, I think Lopez has given good performances with Osorio already, and Osorio really likes him. But Lopez is not a starter in Chivas, because Chapo Sanchez is a starter over there. So that will be interesting to see as well. But I think that those four that you mentioned at first are the sure starters. I mean, I don't see a radical change happening because Diego Reyes has been playing great football with that, and Hector Moreno, we know what Hector can bring to the table.
Yeah, I'd add, someone like Raul Lopez from Chivas. I think something Osorio really is fixated with is the physique of players and making sure he's got a team that when they come up against a big, strong side, that he can actually field 11 players that can look after themselves. And I think if you look at that game late last year against Honduras, I think that was what he was trying to do. And I think he said it since in press conferences that he had to make sure that he had a team that could defend, set pieces and were tall enough in there to be able to do that, so they couldn't just be, pushed over easily. So I think that, and the other thing is, I think this team, this Mexico team, the best Mexico team that there is right now, if you pick your 11, isn't too dissimilar to what we saw at the World Cup. I mean, I think it's pretty much all there. And we've talked about the defence there. Obviously, you've got Ochoa, Talavera, flip a coin for that. Then in central midfield, I mean, all right, Gallito Vasquez and Jonathan Dos Santos battling it out. But then you've got Herrera and you've got Guardado, who are absolutely set in the place. Chicharito's not moving. And then obviously you've got, two wingers. Probably Tecatito Corona and then one other. Lozano, you've got Aquino. So I just see. I think this team, and I think it's a positive as well. I think there has been a slow development, even though the managers have changed. I think the hardcore starters of this team haven't changed a lot, and I think that's it's good for Mexico. And I think the team pretty much picks itself. I mean, there's probably 2 or 3 positions that you could interchange players, or we could debate right now. Who would you have on the right wing? Is Lozano ready now? Or would you pick a Aquino, or would you pick, a Brizuela, who's obviously a bit more experienced? What role should Carlos Vela have? Obviously, that's a massive question. But if you're playing a 4-3-3, would you play him on one wing, Lozano on the other, or you know what I mean? But I think the essence of this Mexico team is exactly the same as the one Miguel Herrera really struck gold with. Really, it seemed by accident, just before the 2014 World Cup.
Yeah, ultimately,
and the depth is really clear. For example, in the midfield right now, there's this issue with Molina, Dueñas, and Gallito Vasquez. I think only one of them is going to go to the Copa Centenario. And let's not forget, Jesus Molina has been starting as of late. So don't be
Yeah.
surprised if at the end of the day, Gallito and Dueñas are out. And
Yeah.
Gallito and Dueñas were in the last Gold Cup. They were in the last Gold Cup, and they were really good players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% there, Naive. I think if I'm putting money on one of those to go Molina, and again I go back to the physique thing. I think
Yeah.
physically Molina's a bit, sturdier, a bit harder as a player, and I think that Osorio, if he's got that option, if it's between Jonathan Dos Santos in the contención role or Molina, I think it'll depend on the opposition, and I think that he'll want that option as a minimum to be able to play a player who's a bit physically more more robust.
I think overall it's interesting to see what he's going to do, and we've seen a coach with JCO that he is, he's not afraid to make changes. He's not afraid to go against and these hard teams we're going to face, especially Uruguay, Jamaica, and Venezuela. I mean, ultimately the first game is going to be the most important, so we'll start seeing, will he save some players on that third game if we're already qualified? Will he want that? And ultimately, those two games before that, the Atlanta game that we'll see, excuse me, we'll see against Paraguay, and then the Chile game will kind of let us know on what's going to happen through there. As far as forward guys, looking at the list that's out there, Jurgen Damm is a forward on there. Irving Lozano, Carlos Vela, obviously. Orbelín Pineda, who actually made it, Isaac Brizuela, Jesus Corona, Tecatito, Javier Ignacio Aquino Carmona, just FYI, if you didn't know that if it's Ignacio Carmona, is Javier Aquino. Cándido, guys. Saúl Ramírez, Javier Hernandez, as you know from Chicharito doing things well, and Raúl Jiménez, which many people thought that he might not have get a call because of looks like he was already scheduled to go to the Olympics and will do that. So already seeing at least one player that will probably do both, and Eduardo Herrera. It's hard to kind of cut down how many delanteros it's going to be, because we've seen in the past that he could take some of these hybrid players like a Jurgen Damm, even though he is there as a delantero. But who do we know already that probably is not going to make that list? Is this going to be Raúl on the top 40? He's in the 40, but because he already is looking like he's going to be with Rio because of what Benfica has said, he's just there and he's probably not going to make it. This is when we kind of start seeing, because of the two tournaments, we're not really sure if they're not making it because of quality, or they're not making it because of because they're going to go to the Olympics and they don't want to repeat those. But Jason, to you, what's that forward situation like, and who do you see ultimately the first sure's? Chicharito, Gio. I would think Tecatito Corona, if we're seeing the best of the best, and Carlos Vela, even though he hasn't played there. But what are you looking at in the forward situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the names you just listed that'll be there. And I think first off the list is probably Lalo Herrera. And like Raul, I mean, you can see, I mean, I would love to see him with this Copa America team, but if he's making that move to the Olympics, you could see him, if he's not going to be in the starting lineup, not being on the team as well. So I think it's pretty clear-cut. Uribe, I mean, you could see him not making it as well. Other than that, I think it's pretty clear-cut with those guys. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's hard to say exactly what's going to happen with Gio. I hope he makes that final list, but it's certainly not guaranteed, I don't think, at this point.
I think one area that is going to be pretty interesting is I think there's quite a lot of similar style players. You look at Marco Fabian, Giovanni Dos Santos, Vela. You got all these kind of like possibly wingers, but not really wingers, and they can play up front as well. They play like kind of attacking midfield, like number 10s. It's like, I think there's a lot of those type of players, and a lot of out-and-out wingers as well, like Jurgen Damm, Aquino, Ramirez, and that's going to have to be cut down. So it's going to be interesting if there's a big name out. I'm talking a Marco Fabiano, a Giovanni Dos Santos, or a Vela who just don't make it. And with Osorio's history, don't rule it out. I mean, Osorio's not going to pick somebody because of the name.
Yeah, definitely. That's what's cool about that. Naib?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the points that Tom and Jason brought up, I mean, it's a list with a lot of wingers. If you think about it, Aquino, Brizuela, Damm, Tecatito, Chucky, Cándido. I mean, I personally think Tecatito and Chucky are the main wingers that Mexico has, like natural ones. Tecatito is going to go on the left, Chucky is going to go on the right. Aquino could come off the bench because of his experience, a gold medalist in 2012, a World Cup in 2014. So I think that's why he could be above, a Brizuela or a Jurgen Damm. But about Giovanni and Bella, I think that's the topic of the table. There's fifth. I think it's with Giovanni. The issue is he's an MLS. The competition is not as high at a high level as in La Liga, and that could possibly hinder him. But then, for example, Marco Fabian hasn't been playing good minutes in the Bundesliga because of the issue he's having in Frankfurt with the coach. So it's possible that he's actually already out of the picture because when he was with the national team in March, he didn't do so well. He didn't take advantage of the opportunities. And we know what Giovanni does in a national team. I mean, I think it's Wiso who has said it. When Gio wears the 3 jersey, special things tend to happen. So I think we gotta view. I think the Giovanni issue is a really special case because it's rare. Jovinko is playing with Italy probably in the Euro, and I think that's something to keep in mind. That there's an MLS player playing in the Euro perhaps. So it could happen here with Giovanni del Tri.
Yes, and that's a great segment to go into with the obviously with the 40-man roster is Giovanni Dos Santos over the weekend, scoring yet I think a golazo. I certainly couldn't do that, and many people can't, saying that it was just a nice little chip in. But how many times have we seen a one-on-one where maybe, and I'm not going to compare it, but Chicharito not being able to do that type of play or going around the keeper or however it is. But Giovanni Dos Santos has now scored, is it 4 goals in 3 matches? And what we're seeing is exactly what we're wanting Giovanni to do, right? I mean, we were saying, well, the MLS season starts late. He got a little hurt, but ending the LA Galaxy season on last year and now coming in, he's exactly doing what he's supposed to be doing. He is playing at a level where he's scoring, and ultimately that's where we want Giovanni now. I know a lot of you guys, and I was a part of it. I mean, when Gio went to the MLS, I was upset at the fact that he was throwing his career away. Maybe not career away, but the fact that we could see him in another team and that he's taking the easy way out going into MLS where he's comfortable, the LA life, getting paid, getting the time and being in an easier league, with the Rafa Marquez way of saying that it was a mistake that he went on there. Even Juan Carlos Osorio kind of criticizing Gio and all of us being mad, but he's taking the most of it and scoring. The golazo last week, if we remember Jess Lopez saying that, kind of mimicking that 2011 goal, and then now with doing the best, as I called it, Vela's chip on and scoring that way. So what else can he be doing if scoring and playing healthy? And yes, I've said that there hasn't been a player on the national team. I know we all love Guardado. We love aside, I guess, maybe Guardado, but even Chicharito or anybody else that wouldn't matter if it's the World Cup and 2014, Gio scored the goals that were needed, especially against Holland, and even though those 2 disallowed goals against Cameroon. In the Gold Cup in 2011, Gio scored. He didn't play the last Gold Cup, I think, as much as we would like him to be, but I want to see Gio back on with La Verde and putting it on and going all the way. I think he's a different type of player, and that's where the bigger controversy has. Will JCO, and you mentioned it, Tom, I think it would be a very big mistake if he's not making this Copa America, as we've seen Gio do that. So what are your thoughts on the Gio, especially performance in MLS, watching the games? And to be honest, more people are watching the MLS because of Gio. The LA Galaxy games, I definitely tuned in last night to watch it, even though there was, Chivas was there, and you just kind of want to see that player. It's working. I've been top of that transition. But Naive, you're laughing in what you're seeing.
It's true.
It's true. Phenomenon. It's true. But yeah, thoughts on Gio, guys, on his way and his form and how we're doing.
Well, I mean, for me, the level doesn't really matter. I mean, we know who Gio is. We know what he can do, and I feel like he does have a place on this roster. There's going to be a sacrifice that needs a bit made that like Tom referenced to in the attacking midfielder role, and some of those players that could be in that spot, whether that means like a Fabian or someone like a Brizuela. Some of these players are going to miss out, but I think Gio has a spot. I don't think he has a place in the starting 11 by any means, but I think this is a player that you want to have on the roster. When you need a goal, you bring someone like Gio on because he can create a bit of magic, and he has that bit of magic in him. He's shown that time and time again, and he's still a high-quality player. He's not like someone who's past it at this point. I mean, I wish he was still in Europe. I wish he was still at the top level right now, but he's not. But he's still a great player. I think he has a place in the team.
And what's many are saying that Vela may come to the LA team. You know, having Carlos Vela in LA, having Gio in LA. There you go. Joel in the chat. Gio would. When Vela comes to Chicago, I'll watch. Gio was demolished by Santos. True, in the way we're seeing that. So. Interesting to see that people are still they're a little bitter, and I see it why. I see why on the Gio controversy. But Tom, to end the Gio debates, not debate, but I guess just in good form. He's scoring goals. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. Who's not? Who people said that they were going to kill it after what Chivas with Cubo Torres. I mean, look at the difference in, and I know that there could be problems there with Cubo, but. Not every Mexican striker that's gone into the MLS started scoring right away like Gio has. There has been many that haven't, that have, in that what we've seen there. So it's not like it's the easiest place, and at the same time he's doing what he's doing.
Well, it's not the easiest place, but for a person as talented as him, he should be playing in a better league. I mean, I don't think there's a debate about that. He's in his prime, and he's playing in a good league when he should be playing in a top league. Are you going to blame him when that money's on offer and LA lifestyle's on offer? It's difficult on a personal level, but on a sporting level, there's no way he should be playing at MLS in his age. I mean, I don't think it's a difficult argument, and I think Osorio completely understands that. He's managed before in MLS. He knows the level of MLS, and he'll be disappointed that Gio's playing there. I think he said before he wants to see more Mexican players playing in Europe, playing in the most competitive environments possible. So that they get that extra 1%, that they're getting, that they're improving that little bit, they're testing themselves like day in, day out. They're living in a different culture, living a different lifestyle. Becoming more mature as people, and I think it does have an effect on the national team, all that. But yeah, I mean, in that context, what Giovanni Dos Santos is doing is, he's done really well. He's done well in MLS the last few weeks. I would say it's only been a few weeks. I mean. Against Santos at the start of the season, it was terrible. I mean, maybe that image of him because I was at the game in Torreon, maybe that's stuck with me. But I still think he's got a lot to do. I really think Giovanni Dos Santos has got a lot to do to get back in the squad. I think there's question marks about his personality. I think he's always had this kind of playboy, party boy reputation. Is it necessarily fair? It's not for me to say. But Osorio, when he's picking his team, will think carefully about that. And secondly, and I think this is the biggest problem with Gio, aside from the form, he can be in his greatest form of his career in Galaxy, but where does he play? Where does he play in this national team? And Osorio said it more than once now. If his position is a second striker, how often is Osorio going to use a second striker? And then you look, if it's a three-man midfield, can Giovanni play on the left of a three in kind of that Guardado role? I don't know. And the fact that he's not been in the squad yet, so Osorio's not actually kind of had a chance to work with him on the training field, being able to see him in games, I think it puts a question mark on whether he's going to be involved in the Copa America.
Do you kind of maybe see him playing where Fabian plays?
Yeah, but I mean, I'd say Fabian's got... I don't know. It depends on the formation because Fabian at Chivas plays as a number 10. He played on the wing. So I don't know. I don't know if Giovanni defensively has got that ability to play in a 4-3-3 formation and has played one of the midfield three. Obviously the left-hand midfield, more attacking role. I don't know if he's got the discipline. I don't think he's played it before, and therefore, why would Osorio risk it when we're in a moment now where we've got more Mexican talent than youth-wise than we've had for a long time? I don't know. I mean, obviously Giovanni's a very, very good player, but I just think there are a lot of question marks still heading towards the Copa America. I mean, they're not playing with a number 10. I don't think Mexico are going to play with a number 10.
Yeah, I mean, the points that Tom brings up are interesting, especially with the tactical ones. Giovanni, since he was raised in the La Masia, Tom, I mean, basically a 4-3-3. and he usually started his plays from the right when he started off. And when he was 15, 16, he would play on the right and cut in with his left. And I think that's where, because keep in mind, with Chucky, he's a right-footed, but maybe he could play on the wing and cut in with the left if he starts his plays from the right flank. And the thing with Gio that's special, and I think this is something that has to be remembered many times, is that he's been present in Mexican football's payments. He was there in the 2005 U17, first World Cup. It was kids, but I think that U17 generation has been better, I would say, than the 2011 generation. The 2011 generation is beginning to look like a lost generation, to say the least. Giovanni was in the gold medal in 2012. So I mean, yeah, the Galaxy reason that he came, but Landon Donovan is a great player in the CONCACAF, and he made his best years in Galaxy. So why can't Giovanni do it? I mean, I know it sounds strange at the moment. I understand it with all my heart, because I'm one of the guys that wishes that he was still in Villarreal, but it's not the case. But I think a guy with his qualities is just, it doesn't get better than that when Giovanni has the ball and he's doing stuff like he's been doing as of late in Galaxy. It's early, but it was against two opponents that I think are decent in MLS, Real Salt Lake and Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, and you mentioned it. Not only the Olympics, the 2011 coming back from 4-2 with the U.S., the World Cup in 2014. If you remember, Gio scored those 2 goals that were disallowed against Cameroon. He came back and he played, set up Oribe Peralta to get that win. And then, obviously, that golazo against Holanda. Gio is known for scoring and being part of a golazo. So I know that obviously Chicharito is hot streak. I can't wait to see him playing, but I hope to see the best of Gio in a Copa America and with this competition. And it's okay if he's on the bench. Can you imagine, it's Chicharito, it's maybe a Raul Jimenez with him, or Tecatito Corona, or the way that he goes in, and all of a sudden Gio comes in on the 60th minute, ready to go in. That's going to be like, all right, let's say someone's not doing good, but Gio's going to come in. It's funny to see him as a super sub, but I think a lot of people would be excited, Gio on the sideline coming in. And
Mexico has the possibility of having Carlos Vela and Giovanni Dos Santos on the bench.
Exactly.
That is something special. That's something that hasn't happened in Mexican football. I mean, those two talented
each other.
Huh? They can sit next to each other.
Yeah.
They can say, hey, remember when we did this? But no, it's part of the reality that we have. Wow, what a talented team we have so far, that everybody's playing. I mean that's doing good, and I'm not overhyping, and I'm not getting on this, we're going to win it all, but having Gio and Carlos Vela, and hopefully Carlos Vela gets that form that we've seen before, but I'm excited. I'm excited that the youngsters are coming by. They might not have won a sub-17 and sub-20 World Cup, but we're seeing it on there, so interesting to see what's happening on that. I know we went a little bit on the Copa America and we went a little bit on the Giovanni Dos Santos talk, but I think it was definitely something we need to talk about. Everyone talking right now. I think the chat's a little bored because they're talking about Canelo Alvarez versus Khan. So it's fun times at the chat that we're seeing there. But let's go and talk really quick about Liga MX. And in one more week. One more to figure out. I think one more spot for 3 teams, especially 3 big teams that we all probably wouldn't have picked, that were struggling to make it in the top 8, with teams like Chivas that we already talked about a little bit about, that finally have made it. But first, Tom, you're in Guadalajara. It's finally good to see Chivas in the Liguilla playing well, and something that they're able to hopefully do well in the Liguilla. But what's the most surprising about Chivas in? Is it Almeida? Is it the players coming in? We always used to go back and figure out what's missing for Chivas. And we talked a little bit about switching coaches wasn't going to do it. The players needed a little more accountability in what's happening. Did they finally click? Was it a leader? Was it someone? Was it Chofis? Was it finally luck? Because a lot of people are saying, you know what, those games, they should have won. Sometimes the luck in football doesn't run on your side. But what finally clicked? What are the answers that we can see and in this Chivas and what's happening? A total of 180.
I think the owner of the club backed a manager. I don't think we've seen that. I think obviously you give credit to Almeida because He's imposed a playing style. It's very set. Every player knows what he's doing, and he's kind of just drilled it in. Even when they were losing, he was like, "We're playing this way. We're attacking in waves. You know, the volume of the play. We're giving every player a lot of options." When he's got the ball at his feet, we're moving forward as a unit, and we'll take risks at the back. So yeah, credit to Almeida, but Vergara as well. I mean, the frequency with which he fired coaches, Almeida would have been out at the start of this season. It took him to week 9 to get a victory. I mean, just think about that. I mean, they didn't win the first 8 games. I mean, that's terrible. And Vergara normally would have got rid of Almeida. I mean, Chepo de la Torre didn't get that amount of time. You know, even though he's got more experience than Almeida and he's done, you know, bigger things within the Mexican game than Almeida. So, yeah, Almeida's been in there, and then all of a sudden, obviously that game in Monterrey just changed everything. I think for me, it completely changed. They were, you know, Chofis came on. I think the whole atmosphere after that, we were like, you know what, we've just gone to Monterrey, the brand new stadium, undefeated there, against the best team in this season, and we've won. You know, and if we can beat them, then we can beat everyone. Why not? And I think it's that just boost of confidence that's really, you know, giving Chivas that little bit extra. So yeah, I think for me it's the consistency. They've stuck with the manager at last, and I think they're now reaping the rewards. And honestly, for me now, you know, I put Chivas third favourite for the title. I think now they're in there. I think they're the form team. You know, you look at the last 5 games, 4 wins and a draw. Only Monterrey can boast the same thing. So, they're the form team. Why wouldn't you back them to go far in this Liga? You know.
Interesting that we're hearing from the chat. Somebody bringing up a really good point. You know, this team, Chepo de la Torre, also made it to the semis in the Liguilla, and people are congratulating if it's Almeida that we're seeing the players. But I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying that the fact that they backed the coach and they didn't go back. So interesting to see that. But as far as the Liga MX standing, obviously the big games that are happening, that Cruz Azul right now is in the top 8. And we'll go to Jason. Tigres and Pumas right behind with 21 points each, and Cruz Azul with 22. Toluca can even have a chance with 19, or they cannot have a chance anymore. It looks like...
No, it's Pumas, Cruz Azul, and Tigres.
I think mathematically they still do, but it looks like it's just Pumas. Tigres and Cruz Azul. Jason, can't have you on the show unless you talk about Cruz Azul and what's happening and what needs and what needs to happen. Especially, what are you seeing out there, and do you really see Cruz Azul in kind of the table staying like this? But already those 3 teams, and talk about those 3 teams, because at the beginning of this season I said I think it was going to be a turnaround year for Cruz Azul, which still can, but I can't believe that Pumas and Tigres might not be in the Liga.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cruz Azul for me is about where you expect them to be, like a Liga team, sort of maybe, kind of pushing, and then that's kind of how they played. But yeah, Tigres is still like, I mean, every week to week throughout this entire season, it's that when is Tigres going to turn it around? When are they going to start putting it back together? And they just haven't. It's just going from on week to week. And I know you guys discussed this last week a bit, Tigres, and just kind of what's going on with the situation. But I think with Cruz Azul, I mean, you have this game with Tigres this weekend. Winner is in the final 8. So I don't know. You look at it and you think, you have Cruz Azul in a situation where it's a do or die situation for them, and you have to like Tigres in that kind of situation. So. You could also see a situation where you have a draw, and with Pumas getting a win possibly on Sunday against America would push them in. So it could go a lot of different ways. It's definitely going to be entertaining. See how it goes, but I don't know. I kind of see, for me right now, I'm seeing Pumas sneaking in if they could pull off the win with America on Sunday, and kind of a disappointment all around in the Estadio Azul between Cruz Azul and Tigres would be fitting for the way the season has gone for the 2 of them, I feel.
Yeah, I think with Pumas, obviously Libertadores is difficult, and I think it's pretty easy to explain why they might not make it. But Cruz Azul and Tigres, if they don't get in, it's a disaster for both. I mean, the amount of money they spend on bringing players, on transfer fees, on wages, for them to not be in the Liguilla is a massive failure. Tigres, I don't know what has happened. I mean, the wheels are completely fallen off. ever since really that game against Monterrey in the Clásico Regio, I think back in March. So it's now 2 months since I think Tigres have won one Liga MX game in 2 months, which the wheels have just completely fallen off. It's a disaster. So, then again, let's take Tigres. Let's take that Tigres game against Veracruz last weekend. Tigres completely dominated. They created chances. Gignac on another day would have had at least 2 goals. And let's go back to Chivas. Chivas had a lot of games like that earlier this season where they were playing, they were dominating possession, dominating the ball, and just couldn't score. So I think a lot of people right now at Tigres are kind of saying, right, let's get rid of Tuca Ferretti, let's play a different style. But at the end of the day, they've just made the CONCACAF Champions League final. They're still champions, and they made the Libertadores final. And my question and my opinion, if Tigres can go and get a good result at Cruz Azul, which nobody should rule out, you wouldn't back against them. I mean, they've had a whole week off now. They've rested a bit, even though they've been so terrible. With the quality that Tigres have in the squad, if they can pull off that victory against Cruz Azul and probably set up a Clásico Regio against Monterrey, which would be absolutely epic, would you back against them? Would you bet against them?
Yeah, that's a big question. That really is, because I said that last week. Yeah, go ahead, Naib.
Yeah. Finish your thought, with, and then I'll go.
Yeah, no, I was just kind of like, you put that in there because as much as Tigres, and you said that, Tom, as much as Tigres has let us down, especially at the end with the squad that they have, and I'll reiterate that, and that's what we were talking about last week. Tigres can come back and win it all again. So it's interesting that I know that we talk about a Liguilla, but this is going to be a very, very exciting Liguilla with Chivas in there now. If Tigres finds a way to come in there, Monterrey playing really well. As much as I know Leon can all of a sudden click in sync, and it's going to be an exciting Liguilla to see that we might not have a clear favorite. I know Monterrey is there, but we've seen that we come out of the past, so interested to see what happens.
No, I think you have to put Monterrey as much as you can say favorite when it's a playoff. But I mean, I feel like they've been dominating for so long that we've not really talked about them so much. But I mean, 37 points from 16 games. I mean, if they win at the weekend, they're on 40 points. Mm-hmm. I don't think, I've been in Mexico 7 years. And I don't think I've seen any team reach 40 points from a 17-game season. So it is amazing what they've done. Tuco Mohamed has really got the team playing well and picking up results. So I'd put them definitely. You don't want to face Monterrey right now, especially with how good they are in the stadium at home. But yeah, apart from that, I don't know. I think you got Monterrey, America, Chivas. I see those 3. I think you then go Pachuca and then the rest. Unless Tigres can make it, then I think they'd slot in. But Leon, Santos, Morelia, people aren't expecting much. But at the end of the day, you watch enough Mexican football and you watch enough playoffs, and anything can happen. I mean, would you bet against Morelia being in the final? I mean, it's a difficult one.
And Leon and Santos have done it in recent history when they weren't expected to do it too. So I mean, certainly, it's all on the table.
Naib?
Yeah, I mean, I recently talked to Bucetich last week, and he was saying how Rayados didn't have to worry about another tournament. That's why they're the best team.
Yeah.
I mean, Rayados wasn't involved in CONCACAF Champions or Libertadores. So, I mean, that has played out. And I think Turco has more tactical mobility than other coaches in Liga MX, I would say. Tuca is becoming too repetitive. If he's going to go with the 4-4-2 again against Cruz Azul, then Tomás Boy has a good shot of beating that because it's so repetitive. And if Cruz Azul with Chaco and Benitez, if it clicks, then they have a chance, I think. I do believe that it's an odd season already. Leicester won the Premier League. Cruz Azul can go 8th in the Clausura and win it too. It's already a crazy year. We suspect Cruz Azul to beat Tigres next Saturday at Estadio Azul. And one of the things, something that I want to add about Chivas, that Tom said, what makes Almeida special is the style. The style is really interesting. I mean, it's way better than Chepo de la Torre, let me tell you that. And I think that's why the fans are really excited about it. You see Gulit Peña, how he's playing right now. Gulit Peña is on the verge of making the 23-man list in the Copa Centenario because
Yeah.
the leadership he's taking. I haven't seen Gulit with this type of leadership before because it used to be in León it was all Rafa Marquez, Chapito Montes, and we didn't think about Gulit. And now Gulit is the leader of Chivas with those penalty kicks, with those passes, with the goals. You know, it's a special moment right now with Gulli Peña, who was this player that some people would say that, oh no, we were just overhyping. Well, right now it's a good chance for him to prove himself.
No, Gullit is interesting. I think 2 quick points. I think at Chivas, what Peña's been given this season is a platform because you've got Salcido, especially in recent weeks, because Gullit didn't start the season very well and he's grown into it. And I think it's no coincidence that it's since Salcido has been that kind of defensive midfielder. He gives the platform. You've got Pineda next to him, who's very, very good at reading the game and knowing when he can burst forward, when he can come back. And I think that you've got those two behind Gullit Peña, and Peña's kind of been, the defensive responsibility isn't there. His duty is to kind of, support the front guy, the Zaldivar. So, yeah, I think that, and I've forgotten my other thing now about Peña. But yeah, but no, he's not like a Mexican player. You know, you got a stereotype of player from each country. The Mexican player is technical, very technical, very good on the ball, and probably not the most physical. And Peña's the opposite of that. His control isn't that good, but he bursts past people. He can shove people off the ball, and he'll take a risk and run forward.
Yeah, interesting you say that, Tom. I think it's good to have your perspective in that. We're so used to. Yeah, Gullit is different in the way that he's at. Interesting notes to add to Tom on what he said about the 40 points. I think it's Cruz Azul was probably the last team that was able to make the 40 points. So I know there'll be a record if it goes over, into that 40 points and you see that. So that's kind of interesting. I think 43 points was given by America, but in the 17 jornadas, I think 40 is the most that we've seen that far. So interesting to see that. As far as the next fixtures that are coming up, just really quick to kind of go over. Obviously, the big one is Cruz Azul and Tigres. That's the one on Saturday that everybody will be watching. But Veracruz, Morelia, Santos, Guadalajara, to see how they obviously could impact the standings there. Cruz Azul, Tigres, the big one. Monterrey, Toluca, which we have to mention. What a disappointment once again, but yet obviously in what's happening. Pachuca, Chiapas, Atlas, Tijuana, Dorados will face my León. Pumas, America, and which should be good. That I think it's one of the most heated rivalries within players. The America and Pumas, from what I hear from players because they grew up there. El Clásico Capitalino. And then Puebla, Querétaro, and what we're seeing there. So, great matchup. One more week. I think we could officially say that Jason Markowitz is the winner of our Quinela that happens every week. Did you win again last week? Didn't see that.
I think all of us won. We all had we were all fairly mediocre, so I think we all pretty much got a star.
And what we're seeing, but thank you to Amy for putting that together. But ultimately, I think we'll give you your trophy at the end of the Liguilla, and we'll try to figure out what we can do with the Liguilla and how we can all still come back to it. But but that's Liga MX, guys. For us, what's happening on the chat after people were talking all about the boxing match that's happening with Canelo and Amir Khan, which that's Tom's countryman, right, Tom? I mean, you're be excited for that fight, right?
Oh yeah, big fight. That absolutely can't wait for Saturday. It's weird because Canelo's obviously from Guadalajara, near Guadalajara, and Amir Khan's from Bolton, which is from where I'm from, and I've grown up, watching Amir Khan's fights all the time. So yeah, can't wait. Probably I have to back Khan. I have to back Khan. I don't think Canelo actually in Guadalajara is that popular. I think in the States he's absolutely promoted so much, but I think people in Guadalajara obviously they like him, but he doesn't have that same popularity as, say, Chicharito. You mentioned Chicharito, someone in Guadalajara, it's the eyes just light up.
in Guadalajara.
That's a great quote. Give that a tweet. Canelo's no joffies. Canelo might be okay, world champion that, but he's no Jumpies. He's no Jumpy Lopez. But yeah, no. So I can't wait for the fight. I think it's going to be. Well, we'll see. I mean, obviously the gulf in weight is going to be. It could be decisive, and probably will be decisive. So it's a bit of a shame because I think Amir Khan's a technically really good fighter and could cause Canelo problems with his speed, but the weight difference massive, and you have to think that Canelo, with the quality he has, is going to catch on at some point in the fight and probably end it. So there you go.
I think he's going to end it. I think Amir's little glass jaws. It's not going to be. Canelo's just going to break it, man. I'm sorry, Tom. Sorry.
I mean,
It's going to happen.
There's two weight divisions between them, so Canelo's a big hitter, so you have to expect it to be a knockout. But on the other hand, if Khan fights a perfect fight, he's got the tools because he's so quick at going in and out. And I think that's why Mayweather didn't want to fight him as well, because for those, I mean, Canelo struggled big time against Mayweather. I think someone like Khan can give him trouble.
There we go, guys. You know what? We're just going to stop the Mexican Soccer Show, and we're going to do the boxing soccer, the boxing show here at the Mexican Boxing Show. The Mexican Boxing Show. That'd be kind of cool.
The Mexican Boxing Show on the side.
A quick thought on back to...
Fine, Naive. Take us back to football.
With Pachuca. With Pachuca. There's defense. And last season, they were one of the worst defenses. So it's pretty special how Pachuca, which is an all-offensive team, as we know, will enter the Liga as the best defensive team, and that's something to keep an eye on.
Well, that's because you were granted like every wish. I mean, Papi from the Martinez family was given, Grupo Pachuca was like, what do you want to the coach? And the coach was like, I want these guys. And it was look at the defense from last year and look at the defense from now. I mean,
the only thing that worries me about Pachuca, I'm just looking at the form now, and it's like, I think it's 2 wins in the last 8 games. So I don't think they've that momentum going into the league. I think it's actually an important game for them on Saturday against Chiapas, who have basically given up. I mean, you'd expect them to win big. But yeah, that's it. I don't know. Pachuca I really like as a team, the style, everything about them, the way they give young players a chance. But I don't know. There's something about them that that spine. I'm not sure if I don't know. I feel like they could roll over in the semi-final, if you know what I mean, and just not be strong enough. Whereas in America, absolutely battle-hardened. You know what I mean? America are going to absolutely fight you, and if they don't beat you by playing, then they'll beat you by fighting. Or Sambuesa with his dives, and just being very tactical and very just knowledgeable about how to play the game. But yeah, that's my only thing about Pachuca.
I feel the same way about Pachuca. There's just something I don't trust, that big game mentality. I don't see it in them. And I don't know, thinking about that Cruz Azul Tigres, I'm still thinking about, and I think about that, the reason that I don't think they're going to get the result, and I don't think they're going to be in the Liga, all has to do with with the defense. And we're talking about that Copa America roster, putting together a 40-man roster like a couple years ago. You would have seen those 2 Cruz Azul defenders in there. You would have seen Kata. You would have seen Massa. And the precipitous fall in the way they have played over this season has been horrible for Cruz Azul. That defense, with what Tigres is sending forward, and with those 2 in the back line and the way they're playing, I just don't see it happening. Naive mentioned that maybe Cruz Azul could be that magical Leicester run here, but it's just there's no Morgan, there's no Huth. It's right now it's Mazza and it's Kata, and it's bad right now. And they're really taking Cruz Azul down at the moment. So I mean that's the thing that's going to hold them back from really making any kind of run here, and all of the mental baggage on top of that, of course.
Yeah, I didn't say that. Naive was the one that said that, but really quickly, I've always been reading Leicester City as like Leicester. Anyone else? Like
just you.
I don't know why I've always been saying it, and I say it wrong. I'm like, it's like.
Give us an example, Tom.
It's like Leicester.
Leicester.
I'm sorry, but
I'll be ignorant.
Congratulations, the true underdog story. If you can go back and we can mimic that, who would be our Leicester City in Liga MX?
Atlas.
Because they're the Foxes, right?
The Foxes, yeah. Los Zorros.
Los Zorros. But Atlas has won before. I mean, the story of Leicester. I mean,
Since 1950, though.
it's. I don't think you can even put like that would be who would have. I can't even think of a title, someone that hasn't had one for 60, 65 years in Mexico. That came back up, and I can't think of a team. There's new teams, but it's such a.
It's not just that though. I think it's the fact that the way the league is. So you're playing over 38 games,
Yeah.
and to go up against teams that are got 5 times your wage bill and stuff, and spend like 40 million on players, and not just one team, but like several teams that do that now, and to win is unbelievable. I mean, it can happen in Mexico pretty easily, and it does happen. You get random teams just winning the league. Querétaro got to the final the other year, and it was like, I don't think they were quite prepared for it. But when it's a playoff system and you're only playing 17 games to get in the top 8, and then anything happens, then it's a lot easier for something like that to happen. But in England, 38 games, you have to be pretty damn good over a long time and over a lot of different kind of opponents at home and away. It's not easy, and I think for me that's what's special about it.
I feel sometimes a big conspiracy because there's always a fight between Liga MX, between La Liga and the Premier, league. It's that like now next year people are going to be very, very excited. Not that they were now, but I think people are going to be very, very excited with this type of team making it. With Guardiola back in the Premier, you have all the changes, the coaching changes. It's just what a great time for this to happen, especially when people were saying, La Liga and the teams that are in there. So interesting to see what happens. But you definitely had to mention them. I think if you weren't any other type of fan, but you were definitely pulling for this underdog story. And I think people will be talking about it for a very long time. It's not always about the money, apparently, but how we do that. So. All right, guys, I know we went a little bit over. Just definitely want to thank everyone with today, especially Tom, and glad to have you back, Jason. I know you took a little time off, Naive and Tom there. Interesting. We're gonna have an interesting summer, especially those that are have been following us for a while, trying to make it to games, having Mexican soccer shows here and there. We'll have a little bit more participation, especially with a lot of us attending those games. And just definitely would love, just keep following us, keep asking us questions, keep jumping on, loving all the support that we're here. If you do have anything to add, definitely hit us up on Twitter, message us, or send us a quick tweet. Thank you so much to Amy, who was producing this show. A little bit rough starting out in what we're doing that, so we'll definitely quick, and we appreciate the patience of all the bugs sometimes that we endure here at the Mexican Soccer Show with this live chat. We definitely do it live so you guys can go and we can talk. We can always record the show, but we feel that the live portion of it is what sets us apart because we're able to see what's happening on this chat and you guys are able to talk about all different subjects from Canelo to, I think you guys started talking about Venados and all this other. So it's great to hear that. So saying hi to everyone that's on there. Please subscribe. We ask you guys to subscribe if you're already a part of the show. Thank you to Tom. Follow him at Mexico World Cup, ESPN FC. You definitely his articles. Naive, now in Mexico City with at Naive Moran. Jason Markowitz, who Soccer Mexicana. You can follow him and ask us questions. And Mike, you can follow me at Wiso Vasquez for FootMex Source. This has been another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. Great week. Naive, right? Every day there's something to watch. You can't get away from football every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, May, no, June. It's like crazy. You see the calendar, and there's like a game every day. It's amazing.
It's amazing. That's what football's all about. Amazing. All right, guys. Have a wonderful week. We're going to go ahead and sign off here at the Mexican Soccer Show. Talk to you all later. See you later, Tom.